Well, so first of all, guys, you have to please forgive me. My nose is blocked, so I will sound funny when making this podcast. Um, yeah. So recently, in my last few podcasts, I've been mentioning and talking about having a co-host my podcast with me, and talking about sports of mixed martial arts, combat sports, what's going within the combat sports community, especially MMA. So recently, we just did our first podcast together. My co-host name is David Farrell. He is from Ireland. He's Irish, and he's been following the sport of mixed martial arts and combat sports for the past 3 or 4 years. So he's someone who does know a great deal about the sport, at least a lot more than I do. So having him jump on board has been really, really beneficial to me. And I could see that just in just that first podcast, the first episode we did, I really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it, just talking back and forth and discussing the issues in the sport, the current topics and the current hot topics in the sports at the moment. And yeah, it was fun. So without further ado, here it is, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm recording. That's all right.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Obviously, you'll be doing editing and whatever. So, yeah. So with the promotions and everything, it's there's a lot of content to try and keep up with, and obviously, if you work, it's hard to try and, especially you're from UK, I'm from Ireland, so
Yeah.
we're in the same time zone. It's hard to keep up when they're at 5, 4, 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
That is true, because whenever, obviously, the UFC are going to be making sure that they're naturally that their home crowd audience will see the fights first. And what makes it even more annoying is that Dana White, and I say Dana White because he really does run that organization with like an iron fist. If he whenever there's an event, especially main event, they will not upload it to the UFC Fight Pass until maybe 2 or 3 or 4, 5 days after the actual fight date has come and gone. So it is quite frustrating if you can't, maybe you just can't see it because it's just too inconvenient for you at the live time. Then of course you may want to watch it at a later time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait a while. I know, because I know over here in Ireland, I think it's got to do with BT and the rights that they have within the UK and Ireland. That's why it can't be uploaded Fight Pass straight away, because I think they have the replays, etc., stuff like that for the box office, I think.
Well, that could be one reason. Another reason is just that the UFC want to make sure that if you're gonna watch this, make sure you pay to watch it live. And if you want to watch it later, well, you can watch it later on, but it's not gonna have the same sort of that feeling of you're watching it there and then when the action is happening live.
Yeah, you're not gonna feel
That's it.
intensity. You're not
That's
gonna
it.
feel
By the time you've watched it,
the mood
all
in the room.
the drama, the hype has come and gone. Everybody's now focusing on the next big thing, the next event. So
Yeah, because like we were saying, usually bar this weekend, obviously it's usually kind of a weekend to weekend thing now with UFC, Bellator,
yeah.
One Championship, PFL. So I think that is the reason. Like you said, that is the reason they want you to watch it there and then, and they want to get your money. Obviously, they don't really take us into account so much I think when they talk about pay-per-views, it's mostly
US
just
and
US they
Canada,
take into
probably
account.
just US, Canada, Mexico. The viewers who are in that's part of the world that share the same time zone. So just that side of the world, they're making a lot of money anyway. So I'm sure they're happy enough.
Yeah, yeah, no. So it's going to be a quiet one, but it's going to be a big one next weekend.
264, Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. How are things over there in Ireland?
Yeah,
is the support for him? They say that when a fight's from the US fights, it's kind of there's people for them and against them. But when it's a fighter from outside of the US, from Canada, you got GSP, could be from Russia, Conor McGregor from Ireland, and then someone like Michael Bisping or Darren Till from the UK. Say for Conor McGregor in Ireland, is the support as in are fans that loyal?
yes and no. Like there is people who probably only watch Conor McGregor in Ireland. So the UFC is based for them is MMA is Conor McGregor. But most people who watch MMA regularly, not that they don't want to see him fight. I think that the problem with Conor McGregor is he hasn't fought so much in the past couple of years. Like when you see his rise, like from the featherweight from 2014, I think it was 2016, to when he got the lightweight title, the fights, he was constantly active. And then obviously the money, the big name, Floyd Mayweather, he was out, he's in and out, he's just tweeting. Like for me, I just want to see him fight. I want to see, like, I don't care about all the other stuff in between since I've started watching MMA more because of him. You just want to see him fight. And when you see everyone else fighting and he's just tweeting, I'd rather see him in there than talking about it.
So what we saw at UFC 257 back in January, that was not the Conor McGregor that everybody knows. Not really.
No, I don't think so. I think he even said he went with the boxing stance because he was lining up a fight with Pacquiao. Like, and you can't really underestimate anyone in MMA because it's especially like he bet him the first time, that was what, 2014, 2015. Like Dustin Poirier has leaps and bounds, has improved since then.
Yeah, that is true. I went back and I watched the fight they had back in 2014, UFC 178, and the way Conor won the fight, the way he was fighting, just like in between, he was like saying to Dustin, "Is this how you?" kind of gesturing, "Is this?" If I meant like, "What is this?" Gesturing to his feet and everything, and I think at the time, although between UFC 257 and UFC 178, of course, time, it's quite a significant amount of years have elapsed, and both fighters, as Conor McGregor said in one interview, they've matured over the years and they've perfected their craft and their skill set. Maybe more so Dustin Poirier, because I do have to take into, like, and just think about the sort of reaction how the mixed martial arts community reacted to Conor McGregor's loss. Some people were saying, is it time for him to hang up his gloves? Is it time for him to retire? I mean, what was he doing in the octagon? Why was he trying to show everybody his boxing skills and that sort of thing? You know, he didn't do, because many people actually betting that Conor McGregor would win. Even I was betting Conor McGregor would, even though. So
Me too.
when I woke up the following Sunday morning and I looked at just the feed and the Google News and everything, I was really surprised when I saw, wow, Dustin Poirier actually beat this guy, and just like, this is mad. This is crazy. Yes, yeah,
And knocked
exactly.
him out.
So I had to go back onto YouTube just to watch the just as much as I could, just watch as much content as I could to watch everything in full, in detail, so I could understand exactly how the fight went down. And I was just surprised. I mean, the leg kicks that Dustin Poirier were just dishing out and throwing at Conor McGregor. I mean, in my own opinion, how he beat McGregor was, I think, just gradually trying to, like, take him apart piece by piece with the leg kicks. I think eventually Conor McGregor's leg gave way, and then Poirier just moved in for the kill with the TKO. If if you
Yes,
agree with my description there.
yeah, I think so. I think especially with the leg kicks, because he was standing very heavy on the front foot because he wants to get that power. So you take that away, and the blow that kind of knocked him down. If you look at it, it looks like he falls into the punch. I'll have to watch it again, but I remember at the time looking and thinking it kind of like he fell into the punch, but I think Dustin went in. He had a good game plan. It's been years since they fought, and I think he was just better prepared. And I didn't like the nice guy Conor McGregor, to be honest.
Yeah. Even before the fight, yeah.
I think the mind games
And it
is one
helps
of the
sell the
things that
fights as
helps him.
well. Definitely.
It helps at this. It does at this stage. I don't think Conor McGregor needs much to sell a fight, but he was too nice. I think, like, if you look at him before Jose Aldo, the 13 seconds, the 14 seconds, or whatever, like, he got into Jose Aldo's head. If you watch the first Poirier fight, I think if you look back at the embedded, Dustin Poirier says, like, I've never hated
Yeah.
someone so much as I
Yes.
do
Yeah.
this guy that I've ever fighted. And I think he got him emotional. And it's the same with like obviously it didn't work with Nate Diaz because
Yeah, of
Nate Diaz
course.
is just Nate Diaz. He doesn't give a fuck. Then you look at Khabib. He didn't get a Khabib. Well, I think he did because when you look at after, but Khabib is just, I think is just so far ahead of everyone that he's hard to beat. And if you look at Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, everyone who's fought him recently, actually Conor actually went the furthest with him. He went to the fourth round before he got
Speaking
betting that. So
speaking of Khabib, this is an area that I have to say. Just a moment. This isn't. Do I sound a bit clearer now? It's louder. Okay, a bit better. Too
yeah,
loud or is it too noisy? Should I turn it down? Um.
no, perfect,
So
perfect.
speaking of Khabib, I have heard that the guy's record, people are praising him and congratulating him, respecting him. I have heard someone has given me their opinion saying that his record was padded, that he had easy opponents. Now, I'm very, very, very still very self-conscious to give my pass my own comments on that because I'm very new to mixed martial arts, but I like the sport. But when it comes to something like that, I'm still, very iffy about whether I should say yes or even no. I mean, do you think he had a padded record?
I don't know, but like when you're coming up on regional scenes, like I wouldn't be an expert either. I only kind of started watching when Conor McGregor came up, and then I really got interested. But is it better? Like coming up, if you're that good, you're going to be beating these people easy anyways. But you have to start somewhere. But like, look what he done to the likes of Justin Gaethje, Dos Anjos, like everybody. Like he just like when he retired against Gaethje, I was looking at that fight going, Gaethje will probably be the
But now you can
best
almost,
opponent
but
for him.
now so
But then
to
you look,
interrupt you, but now I mean that was what October last year. Now this year we got Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler was saying if Khabib was to come back, I mean he would like to face him.
yes, I actually seen that,
Yeah,
and that could have been. I like Michael Chandler. I don't.
I
There's a lot of
understand that.
hate for Michael
Yeah.
Chandler. I like Michael Chandler. I think he's good. He's explosive. He's got good wrestling. It's hard now that he's lost though to Oliveira to kind of say that. So like, would Oliveira give Khabib a better fight? His jiu-jitsu is very good. Chandler's wrestling is very good. He beat Chandler when I thought it actually looked at one stage. I thought the fight was
You
going to be
see, I thought
stopped
Michael
between
Chandler would have
Chandler and
won that
Oliveira.
fight. I genuinely did.
I actually thought, you know, when he was unloading at one stage and he'd rocked him and got him down, I actually
Yes,
thought the fight
yeah.
was going to be stopped,
In the first
but
round.
it wasn't. Yeah, just towards the end, and then it wasn't stopped, and then it came back around, and Oliveira, like it just came out like what was it, 19 seconds into the second
Yeah,
round, he just
over,
hit
yeah.
him, and then it was just like over. See, I don't know. I just think Khabib is miles ahead of everyone. I just really do. I think he's like kind of Mayweather, the way Mayweather could take years off and just come back and he could school everyone. I know whatever he's doing now is whatever he's doing now, but I think Khabib was just levels. I think he even said it then and White. He goes, it's like, this doesn't interest me. You know, like there's no one on my level. And I think DC said it as well,
Yeah.
that this like Khabib's up here
I heard someone saying
and
that
everyone
Khabib
else
is
is
like
down here.
this half human, half machine. He just like you can hit him with anything, he'll just keep walking and walking towards you. It's impossible to beat him or so. But when you look at his background and how he trains,
Yeah.
I mean, in Russia, where he comes from, Dagestan, they're wrestling with bears. So, it's
That's the whole. If you see what's it, the meme, and it's Conor McGregor with his teddy bear at 8 years old, and it's Khabib wrestling the bear at 8 years old. Um, it's the train. I think his father had massive influence. I think it's just. I just
yes.
think they're a tougher type of people. I just think they're just. they're just tough. And then the training, he was with Cormier, Rockhold, so he had killers around him as well. So I don't know. I think we'll
No,
never
I
know. I
think
don't
no.
think he will come
Okay,
back.
you
I
say that, you
don't
say
think he
that.
will.
Um, but to be honest, this sport, one thing I've seen is that people say all sorts of things. They can say crazy things. They can do all sorts of things. They can do crazy things as well. Um, some people, his coach from the AKA gym in San Jose in California, Javier Mendez. Yes, I think
Javier,
he said
man.
in a
Yeah,
particular interview, was it with Mike Swick or someone? He said that Khabib misses fighting. He wants to come back to fights, and that's what he said. But I mean, before all of this, Khabib even said, and Javier Mendez kind of confirmed this, that before Khabib comes back to fighting, he must get approval of the family, especially his mother, now that his father has passed away. So it
yeah,
can't be just an individual decision. It has to be a collective decision. Sorry, a collective decision of the entire family. So he can't just decide on his
yeah.
own. Um, but I can't see why. I mean, just one last fight. His father wanted him to retire with a record of 30-0, not 29-0, but 30-0. So I'm sure if for the right person, potentially they would agree to let him come back and fight.
I think so. I think he wouldn't want to fight anyone in the lightweight division. For some reason, I think he'd want to fight GSP if he came back and have a super fight. But obviously, there's the things going on with Dana White and GSP at the minute, because GSP obviously wanted to go box Oscar De La Hoya, and Dana White vetoed that obviously because he still got. I read somewhere yesterday he's got
Now,
two
hold on, I
years
mean,
left on that contract.
GSP, I mean,
There's a time limit
when I
on it.
he kind of going to branch off on something else, but why why can't GSP and De La Hoya? I mean, even though GSP is at 40, I mean, not really an old age, but in sport, I get it, it's quite old. But if what's wrong with GSP just fighting De La Hoya? I mean, De La Hoya's got the drug problem, the substance abuse problem, but if he cleans himself up, it would make it, I guess, an entertaining fight.
Dana White wants that money. That's what I think. I think because Dana White was pissed off after the Bisping fight, because obviously he had told Dana he would defend the title, and then what was it? 2 weeks later, he dropped it. I think, and I think Dana wasn't happy about that, and I think that's why we didn't see Khabib and GSP, because Dana White did not. I don't think he liked that decision because he told him he would, and then he didn't. So he kind of held up the. He didn't hold up. Well, he didn't hold up the division because he dropped it quite quickly. But he came back. It was like I proved the point, and now I'm back out again. So, and I think Dana White wants any money from any fighter on the roster when they're under contract.
The exception, of course, would be if you're coming off a losing streak or so, like Tyron Woodley, who's lost his in the UFC. He lost what 3 or 4 of his last fights or so.
Yeah, but he was also released as well,
No, yeah,
so he's nothing to do with the UFC anymore. Whereas I think he still has a contract in place,
yeah, yeah. I was surprised I got gone.
and I don't think. Sorry, I was going to say I don't think Dana's too hot on Tyron. He wasn't while he was champion either. So I think Dana was quite happy just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
let him out the door when it
Especially where
happened.
he's now what 39, pushing 40 now. So he probably thinks he'll probably lose any other fight that's put in front of him, maybe.
But look who we lost to: Kobe, Usman, Burns. So they're all up
Yeah,
there.
that's
So he
true.
wasn't losing to nobody's. But he didn't look like
Well,
the
he's getting
Tyron
old. He's
before he
older
got the
now, isn't
title.
it?
He is, yeah, and I think he was more careful. I think he wanted to keep the belt. He didn't want to lose as opposed to go out and take the head off people like he did with Lawler and everyone before. I think he was more calculated in the way he fought. You seen that in the second Wonderboy fight. That was like I watched the second fight after the first fight was amazing. I watched the second fight. I didn't think it was that good. People say, "Oh, well, you're a casual," like because people said they thought it was good because it was very technical, but they didn't do anything for 5 rounds really. And then I think he set a record for the least amount of strikes ever in a title fight. against Maya. So I think Dana White was happy just to let him go. But Tyron, good luck to him on his next venture.
Well, his
Anyways,
next venture will be
that's going to
against
be a good
Jake
one.
Paul, this YouTuber slash internet. Well, I call him an internet clown because I just don't like the way he runs his mouth, and he's just annoying. I mean, it's annoying that someone like that just makes idiot videos for a living and find that they were successful, made a lot of views, have got a lot of money, has now come into combat sports. You know, it's just, it's crazy.
I see what you're talking about, but here's where I might disagree with you. Because if you look at most boxing records, until they get to 20-0, 13-0, they've really fought nobodies. What he's done is he's used his viewers, his followers, and he's put himself in a position that he's not fighting nobodies to in a sense, pad your record at the start. He's fought people who people know. Obviously, I think it was KSI's brother was the first one. Then it was a basketball player.
You
Then it
see,
was Ben Askren, who was only there for the money.
I hear what you're saying. I do, and it's something that has always played, has masqueraded in my mind. But even though his brother seems to be less annoying, but both of them on paper they may be professional boxers, but they, in my eyes, I still don't consider them to be professional boxers because they haven't fought any opponent that's of that elite level. Who at least, okay, they may not be elite level boxers as in well-known champions, but people who have actually been boxers for a significant length, at least for 5 or up to 10 years, for a long, long time, who can have a lot of fights under their belt. Until they fought one of those guys, that is when I would consider them to be a professional boxer. And the last fight that Logan Paul had with Floyd Mayweather, that was an exhibition fight. It wasn't a proper, competitive fight that will count towards having, any points in your record, stuff like that.
That was
Exactly.
for the money. That fight was. That was. It looked like Floyd knocked him out in that fight and held him up. But with Jake, it looks like they do train hard, and they're not like. See, I don't hate him as much as anyone. Like, what I like about him is he's highlighting fighter pay in UFC. Did you see he donated $5,000
What?
to the UFC fighter who
Jake
started a
Paul?
GoFundMe? Yeah, he donated 5,000 to Sarah A. Her second name starts with. She started a GoFundMe because she couldn't afford her training, and Jake Paul done it. And Jake Paul's always on about the fighter pay, fighter pay. Like, he won't be considered. To me, I think there's about 1-2 years of this. I say if Tyron knocks him out, and then I think he's got an immediate rematch clause with Tyron. If Tyron knocks him out twice, that might be the end of it. That might be it gone. But he trains hard. Like, he's raking in money that other people can't rake in, and it's just because of the way he goes on. If you look at me, he looks like he's copying Conor McGregor, the Conor McGregor act. And I understand where you're coming from, that people have put their lives into this and they've put years and years, and he's just after going to the top. But he's 20 million followers. If he has 1 million people that buy that pay-per-view just out of his followers, he's going to get it. People don't have that following. Like, he created a following and then done this. He's going to cash out. He could go on in boxing, but I don't think he will. I think he'll get knocked out once or twice. He'll go on and
See,
do something else.
you're right about the following the social media for. I mean, some of those followers may even be his haters. They just follow to see if there's anything negative they might post. Um, but you kind of compared, is it Conor McGregor and some other big names in combat sports, but how do I put this into words? I mean, they have done things through the traditional route, the traditional means. They, excuse me, they have built up everything from scratch. Their name, their I mean, Jake Paul, I think what him and his brother, I think what really helps them in boxing, first of all, to get at least a lot of attention on them and to on any event that they're going to be a part of, is the name power. That a lot of people know them from doing something else before they came to combat sports, and also whether those people like or hate them, those people are still going to tune in to see them succeed or fail at this, competition. Um, I mean, so really, I mean, I sound like a bitch, like just someone who's playing a tiny, or someone who sounds like a broken record, but that is where I'm coming from with this thing.
No, I do see where you're coming from, but people like circuses, and that's what it is, the circus. But to be fair, it looks like Jake Paul trains hard. It looks like they both train hard, but whether they want to pursue this fully, is this just a 1 year, 2 year plan, cash out? I don't know. I can see where you're coming from, but then again, you have to look at other fighters. Like maybe they need to market themselves more. Like I know you're talking about the traditional Conor McGregor came up, but Conor McGregor when he came into the UFC, he blew up. Well, he obviously blew up over here. I don't know what it was like in
Of
the UK,
course,
but he blew up over here. He had one line. Was it the
I
same over
don't. I
there?
mean, I
He
would have
blew up
heard
over
of his
there
name, but I don't think. No, there's no way that his fame over here can compare it to what's going on in his home country of Ireland. Uh, Definitely your own people will be supporting you the most out of any other part of the world. So no, I mean I would have heard of his name, but I don't think he would have been like super, super, super famous over here. Of course, I understand.
Whereas
Yeah, yeah,
here he was a
he would have
legend
been.
because he'd come up.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we're a small country, not meant. There's less people
Yeah,
in my country than there is in your big city. So we follow like whoever makes it, everyone follows them. But with Jake Paul, I don't know. Like he's just gonna keep doing what he's doing until it's over, I think, and then we'll see if he keeps boxing. I don't think he
see,
will.
that's what I'm saying.
Tyron might knock him
I
out. He
I
might not.
personally believe that this, especially for Jake Paul, is. I'm not hating here. I mean, I accept the situation for what it is. Um, I believe that look at the Tyron Woodley fight. I was actually shocked when he demanded that should be a rematch clause in the contract. So I was wondering why is that? For Ben Askren, you didn't ask for that, and for the other opponents that you fought, you didn't ask for that. But why is Tyron Woodley's fight the exception that you have to demand that clause be included in the contract?
Because he thinks Tyron might knock him
Of
out.
course, because he's fight.
Ben
Well,
Askren
for
wasn't
obvious reasons, but I
knocking him
think
out.
Tyron Woodley probably is the closest opponent thing he'll get to a proper boxer. I think so far at the moment, anyway.
And he's training with Floyd. He looks good. But then the problem with the MMA people going over to boxing, like there's good boxers in MMA, but when you go to boxing, it's only boxing. You don't have to worry about leg kicks, takedowns, etc. So maybe he's banking on that like Tyrone,
Hmm.
like to be that one dimensional
Yeah.
and just be looking through the gloves like that. Maybe he won't do it, but I think he's scared. Tyrone, he could catch him.
Mm.
If Tyrone catches him,
And Tyron Woodley's known for his
take his head
knockout
off.
power as well.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he will decapitate you. So maybe the rematch is that might be his cash out. He might go, right, I lost. I'll fight him again, and if I lose again,
Yeah.
that's it. We're gone. But see, you don't know. He like as much as people hate him,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
smart guy. He knows what he's.
Just the mere fact that we are talking about him, just people having these sort of conversations, that's raking in the money for him, raking in the money and the attention, and just building up the hype more so as the day as the day of the fight draws nearer and nearer.
Exactly. See, like I don't hate him. A lot of MMA people hate him, but like he's not ruining the sport of MMA. Really, he's beating MMA fighters in boxing, not the other way around. You know, it's not like you have a young YouTuber calling boxers into MMA and then he's beating them and then it's making a mockery of MMA. People more so think it's making a mockery of boxing, but like these circus fights happen more often than you think, but it's set off the trend. I seen a couple of weeks ago there was the TikTokers versus YouTubers. I watched the
You
press
know, hold
conference.
on.
It looked kind of
You say press
cringe.
conference? I was
I
just
didn't like
listening
it.
to a an interview that Michael Chandler was having with I've forgotten the name of the host, but the host was, I think, a former athlete or so. But Michael Chandler mentioned I think, you know, the in boxing they have the where I think some celebrities, some musicians can perform before a fight or so. And I think they said that the
Yes.
fact that these YouTubers have now become involved with combat sports, especially boxing, really has degraded the sport down to a level of debauchery. Just the whole thing. I mean, they had, is it Justin Bieber and not Kim Kardashian, Cardi B, but it looks like they had no Snoop Dogg was performing with these strippers or so on the stage or in the boxing ring, and
For the Thriller
probably
one,
was, it was
is that what
for
you're talking
a
about?
very recent boxing match. I mean, they didn't exactly say I've forgotten the name of the two guys fighting, but they said it was a very recent event, and they said the whole thing just looks like, what the hell is going on? Just what the fuck is going on? These guys got involved in boxing, it looks like despite how violent the sport may be, it still looks like a respectable sport.
Yeah, see, I watched the Thriller. Did you watch
Hmm.
the Ben Askren and
But
Jake Paul and the rapping?
no,
Like,
sorry.
I like rap music. I love rap music, but I don't like it mixed in with that. And I really didn't like
It
Snoop
was
Dogg,
ridiculous.
and the commentary wasn't professional. It
Ridiculous.
was it was like it. It was like, but to be fair, if you look, the UFC had him on the, was it the Dana White's Contenders? Was he on Dana White's with Uriah? He was on something with Uriah. I didn't like Snoop. I didn't like all the dancing, singing. Like, when you look at traditional boxing, MMA, there's none of that. Like, you very rarely have big guest appearances. Like, you had the one with Conor McGregor and Sinead O'Connor, the big walkout. But it's very rare that it's that big. It's not, the production isn't that heavy on it. But with the Thriller one, there was two people. Did they not cut two people having an arm wrestling or a slap fight or something in the middle of it? I can't even remember. I was in now asleep watching that. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. But I think if I don't think it'll carry on. I think combat sports will get back to normal in about a year, 2 years,
Of
with
course.
and they'll be gone. I don't think they're going to change the model. They're not going to
Yeah, of
change.
course. Yeah,
Hopefully, they
yeah.
change fighter pay, but um, I don't think the model is going to change too much because of them.
Um, yeah, I think it will. As I said, this hype train will gradually come to an end when these guys will have to start facing the proper boxers, the elite level boxers, whereby they know there's a good chance they could lose, and also not just lose, but they could also get seriously hurt.
That's true, but anyone can get
Yeah, yeah.
seriously hurt, regardless. Like, they could get seriously hurt, but I don't think they're as bad as people think they are. I think they're training hard. I really do think they are training hard, and they're training with the right people. Like, I don't think they're going into this like completely blind. I think they kind of know what they're doing. They are training hard. I don't, like, anyone can get hurt in combat sports. It's just a thing that happens. We've all seen, like, I seen that Masvidal Ben Askren knee. I've never seen someone go so stiff, and that was scary watching it. I actually stayed up to 4 a.m. or whatever it was just to see that fight. It was over in, what, 5 seconds, 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, like, anyone can get hurt, and I don't think they're not taking it seriously. But if you look at Tommy Fury, I think Jake Paul called him out. His next fight, I don't know if it's happened or not now, but was supposed to be a boxer who was 0-14. So, like, what's the difference between Jake Paul fighting Tyron Woodley, who's had 0-0-0 boxing fights, as opposed to someone who's fought 14 times and lost 14 times? Tyron Woodley might be a better option than that guy. And Tommy Fury's fighting, well, he was going to, and then the fight got called off because Jake Paul called it out.
I could go on talking to you for hours and hours and hours. But how do you feel? As in, do you still feel nervous? You don't look nervous. You don't sound nervous. Like you're for me, you are like an encyclopedia because there's lots of things that you're mentioning that I've never thought of that I didn't know of. Because it looks like I'm actually asking you more questions than I'm answering anything.
I don't know. I am nervous. That's why you probably see when you watch back this video, you're gonna see there's a lot of itching, there's a lot of hand gestures. So I've never done a video or something like this before. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. Obviously, I've told you about my work situation, what I used to do, and what I've done now to step away to lessen the hours. Like I want to pursue other things, and this was one of the things I wanted to do. And it's not like people go, "Oh, you want to go do this and go on YouTube?" I said, "No." The reason, like, obviously, I had created that page. I don't really post to that page anymore, but you were one of the first people who followed me. So I watched some of your videos. I've actually started watching a lot of your older videos as well. Um, and then I think I was drunk one night. I think I was definitely drunk, and I texted, said, "Me and you are going to do this," and then here we are. It's not so. It's I don't want to do this for fame or money or like to be a YouTuber. What I like, none of my friends really like MMA, don't, and I find it hard to have a conversation with someone. And then the fact that like you like my stuff, and we got talking and we were talking about MMA, especially because you're in another country, and then I watch your videos. I have a difference to opinion to you sometimes,
Yeah.
especially with the Jake Paul and stuff like that. And I like that. I like that talk back and forward. And like you might say something that might change my mind. I might say something that change your mind. But I just like having this dialogue
No,
and being able to talk with someone.
that's good because I do find myself. I don't do it for the fame either. Um, but I like talking about the sport. When I'm talking about the sort of sport with someone, especially someone who knows a lot more than myself, I do find the conversation. I'll be talking for hours, asking them lots of questions, just trying to understand certain things that I never knew about before. So, yeah, I do find that enjoyable, very enjoyable.
No, I've so far I found this very enjoyable. Like I said, I am still nervous, but I am
Oh,
finding it
you
enjoyable.
seem all right. I mean, yes, the first video I made on, you said you watched my older videos. Which one did you watch?
Uh, like you're not really the MMA ones, the other ones, the Sprint and the Amazon and stuff like that. But I've watched back through your other ones. Like when I'm going to bed at night, I'll put your videos on just so I'll get your views up so you get some more money. I just I put them in the queue, yeah, and then usually when I'm heading off to
Yeah.
bed, when I'm in for work in the morning, I say, right, I get Ike's videos up here, the ones that I've watched, and then I just put them in the queue, get your views up, get you some more money, and but I've watched some of your older ones about the pandemic, Boris, about the gyms opening up, um, and I've seen you don't really do them anymore. You focus more on
See,
MMA now.
then I wanted to start a YouTube channel just about what interested me, and it was just the politics at the time. And the pandemic for me was something really quite fascinating in terms of the lockdowns. I'd never seen the UK, especially London, just seemed so quiet and deserted, especially central London. And I was working as a courier at the time, and it seems strange and fascinating at the same time. Just seeing the streets so empty and just so quiet when whereby usually it's so busy and you just can hardly move anywhere. So I just thought I'd talk about those sort of things, and eventually I just getting sick and tired of the politics, and just thought, let me just talk about something else, something that really actually really interested me. And that was mixed martial arts. And at the time, I just started in kickboxing classes with a coach that I'd met at my gym, and just after my first second lesson, I just kind of got hooked. So I really liked the sport, and the classes, just the kicking and the just practicing how to throw a punch. It was quite therapeutic, if I can say that. It just seemed quite therapeutic, and it got me interested in the sport. Just how they used to trash talk each other, insult each other's families, mums, and the sort of insults being thrown back and forth. It was, and then you see, yeah,
Yeah,
and then
sometimes it
after
goes
doing
too
all
far.
of that, they finally settle the score in the cage, and whoever wins, if they're really that much of a if they're really that that if they really hate the other person, just continue it there and then. So that sort of thing, it got me kind of hooked
Yeah.
into the sport.
Most time when it ends in the cage, it's usually humble
Yeah.
when the person loses.
Yeah.
Mostly, except for your countryman Michael Bisping when he won and he spat in was it Riviera's corner?
Spats.
Called him a fucking loser. Yes, I will send you the
God.
video.
Well, to be honest, I
I'll send
can't
you the
say I
video.
disbelieve me if it happened, it happened. But then knowing and seeing what Michael Bisping is like, I have to say, yeah, it probably did happen. Yeah.
I'm actually he's doing tours. Did you see that? He's doing tours in Birmingham, London, a couple of places. He's come to Ireland. I'm going
I
to see
must
him in
have seen
October.
something about that on YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah, so I'm going to see him. It's the Tales from the Octagon. It's him and Luis Gomez, the guy from his podcast. Luis Gomez is gonna open up, do a short comedy thing, I think, and then Mike Bisping's gonna take the stage and he's gonna talk about obviously his career, etc. I really like Michael Bisping and I like his story. So he was always just there but not there. He always fell kind of at the last hurdle, and then he got that win against Rockhold.
Yeah.
That's like, it's an amazing story. I think it's a UFC documentary on him, and it kind of goes through, and it's actually very good. If I find that, I'll send it to you. But I like him, and I like his commentary. I actually think he's quite good on the commentary as well.
Some remarks he's made about certain fights when they get knocked out. It's as stiff as a board. Yes, crazy. But look, we need to do this again if you want to.
Yes, I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I just wish I knew as much as you, so I don't come off as, God, what's he talking about? Do I know? I should have seen this, or must have seen it somewhere. I just wish I knew had my knowledge was as much as yours.
But mine isn't that much. I've only watched it a couple of years, and it's only been the past 2 or 3 years I've really watched it. But like, that's what I hate about people who've watched MMA for years is when they're like, oh, casual. Everyone was a casual at some stage. If there wasn't casuals in the sport wouldn't be what it is. You take all the casuals that watch Conor McGregor and pay that money.
Yeah.
How much money are they bringing in? These casuals, like I said, there's my friends in Ireland who won't watch MMA ever, but they'll pay for Conor McGregor.
Mixed martial arts. It's quite. Well, I wouldn't say it's therapeutic, but I mean, is there something specific about the sport that they just don't like?
I don't know. I think it's just in Ireland, when someone does good, if I look at it myself and I might say, if someone in Ireland does something good, the whole country gets behind them no matter what. Like Sonia O'Sullivan running, Katie Taylor boxing, like people might not like, but the Irish people, like you've probably seen that Conor's press conferences from the press conferences are the same now, but just the support. It was like when it was in America, it was like it was in Ireland. Like people get loans, they put themselves in debt from this country to go out and watch him fight, and then it lasted fucking 13 seconds against Aldo. Imagine paying for that trip. But when someone from Ireland does well, we all, like, everyone supports everyone. So like, it doesn't matter what you do, even if you're not interested. If there's an Irish athlete that's doing well, everyone will watch them. That's just the way the country is. I think it's because we're small, we're very clannish. We just stick together. So if one person does well, we'll all go behind them. So, and I don't think it's a case that. I think it's a case that most people probably that watch Conor, they probably wouldn't like. Not that they wouldn't like MMA, but they'll watch Conor because he's Irish.
They say it's one of our boys. We have to at least see you doing well and watch you when you're doing your thing. That's that sort of thing.
Yeah, like Katie Taylor. Have you heard of Katie Taylor?
Her name sounds familiar. It does sound familiar.
She was she only fought there not too long ago, but like her, when she fights, everyone will watch her. Sonia O'Sullivan was a runner years ago. everyone, the whole country just gets behind him. It's like, have you ever seen Ireland when they go to any tournament in football?
What? Yeah. Uh,
Like the Euros,
not.
World Cup, etc. Like the fans, everyone gets behind them. It's just the way the country's built. I don't know what it is. It's just when one person does, it's like we're this tiny little island. And someone does something so good, like on a global scale, everyone just just follows, and that's what it is. It's weird when you go to America because it's so big. You find American MMA fighters getting booed, etc. Like, how do you feel? I actually want to ask you, Leon Edwards. This is really annoys me that he hasn't got a title shot. Really annoys me. Like, how do people in the UK feel about Leon?
Well, I'll first of all start by answering that question by saying, well, over here, me specifically speaking myself, um, there aren't many people who I speak to about mixed martial arts, just a select few. But so far, I mean, the support that you said that you guys have for someone like Conor McGregor, yeah, you don't really see that over here. I mean, I'm assuming that when someone like Conor McGregor coming from Ireland is going to be fighting, even if it's going to be all the way over in the US, in Ireland, Dublin, I'm probably sure you see billboards and just his face in all sorts of advertisements everywhere, just reminding people he's going to be fighting at this time, this place, so and so. Be sure to watch it. Don't miss it. Is it advertised in that sort of manner in Ireland?
There's not so much anymore. There was at the start during his first initial run, because him himself now is just an advertisement for himself, because he's such a global superstar that he doesn't need to remind people, or the country doesn't need to remind people. People just, once he goes up, I don't know what he has on Instagram or whatever. Once he puts something up, it's shared and shared and shared, and the country just knows when he's going to fight. Whereas before, he was marketed very heavily, but he doesn't need to be now, because like Conor McGregor is his own brand. Like, he's a brand, is what he is. He's like, he's done very well. He's set himself aside from fighting when he leaves or whatever. Like,
Mm.
Conor McGregor is a brand. So once he posts, everybody watches it. It gets shared. It'll get shared again. And like you were talking about earlier with Jake and Logan Paul, people either love him or hate him, so they're going to tune in to see him get knocked out or to knock someone out. So, but like with Darren Till, I would have thought, especially like we were talking. Well, I originally started with Leon, but Darren Till seems quite popular to me. He comes across as quite a likable person. He's a bit of a troll,
God.
Darren Till, but he seems
Loves bad situations. God.
on Instagram.
It's ridiculous.
Uh, there's two trolls on Instagram. One of them is 50 Cent, and one of them is Darren Till. And I don't know who's better. I really don't know who's better. Darren Till's good. I like Darren Till. He seems like a likable person. Like, he seems like your average person. But like what I was saying about Leon, what really annoys me, he's on this streak. And it was somewhere on my Instagram, I seen someone put up about Wonderboy. And I actually met Wonderboy. There was a thing called Fight Con in Ireland last year. Ben Askren came over, Wonderboy, Frank Mir, MVP, and Irish fighters, Kiefer Crosby, James Gallagher, and Will Fury. They all came across. Stephen Wonderboy is as
Yeah,
nice
seems
as
like
he is on TV. He is the nicest person. Ben Askren
really.
was a bit of an asshole. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe he had a long flight, maybe jet lag, whatever. But he just like, whereas you came up to get your photo, Wonderboy was like, "Hey, where are you from?" I was like, "Kildare, where's that?" It's 20 minutes outside Dublin. Hey, guy, and I was like, "Oh, who's your next fight?" And he, like, there's a back and forth. Whereas Ben Askren was just like, "Boom, photo, see you later. Boom, photo, see you later." MVP, um, like the way he comes across, like, it's very cocky and all. He was actually quite humble, and I was actually really surprised at how nice he was. And then out the front of this hotel, there was like a burger van that was just, obviously they were set up for the day. Like, he was out eating burgers, chatting to all the fans. Like he seemed just totally normal, totally decent, so humble. Like, it surprised me, because when you look at MVP, the way he goes on, the way he celebrates, the way he talks, you think he'd be cocky, he'd think he'd be above everyone. But he was actually very nice, and it was nice just talking to him just for the few
MVP
seconds that you got
is
to talk
that
to him.
remind me who?
Michael Venom Page in Bellator with the crazy. Not, I'd actually one of my fights. I was actually going to talk to you about this. If we were going to put a Bellator versus UFC, who would you pick? My pick for that weight class was MVP versus Wonderboy because of the two styles are so similar. Um, but I actually got off point. What I was saying is people are talking about Wonderboy if he wins next week against Burns about him getting the next title shot. And then I'm like, is everyone forgetting about Leon Edwards here? Is everyone forgetting about what he's been doing and what he just done? I know Nate Diaz said that a little bit at the end where if he had, instead of pointing and laughing at him, he could have knocked him out. But like for 24 minutes, he whooped his ass. Like he whooped his ass. Like the way he knocked him down, like the way he took him down. See when he knocked him down to the ground, it's like
Yeah.
he just bet him all over the place. So I don't know. Like what's the feeling? Like obviously there's no big feeling
No,
in the
no,
UK then about Leon.
no.
Like I
Seeing
think he
his
deserves it.
ranking and just seeing all the fights he's had in the past, even the one he had against Bilal Muhammad, that had to be stopped because of the eye poke thing. He was winning that fight. So
Yeah.
I can't understand why he's not been given a title shot. But in terms of the support and following, uh, over here in the UK, no, I've not. From my own personal opinion, I've not seen it. I mean, in comparison to someone like Conor McGregor coming from a country like Ireland, I mean, Conor McGregor in Ireland is treated almost like a god. But over here, Leon
In some
Edwards,
parts.
no, it's
Yeah.
not the case. I don't think so. You could ask someone else, probably who has followed the sport much more closely than myself. They might give you a different answer. But as far as I can see, no, it's not been the same sort of following or support either.
It could be just because of the population of your country and the amount of things going on. Obviously, I believe it or not, I used to live in London. I used to live in Vauxhall. And obviously the
Yeah,
sport there is soccer, football. Yeah, like so I actually do get over to London every now and again. So next time I'm over, I'm hitting you
no,
up.
I am
Where
in
are you,
London.
Oxford?
I am in Hackney, the East End of London. But I know Vauxhall very well.
Okay. My cousin, yeah, I used to live in SE11. Is that the postcode? Jeez,
Vauxhall,
Wynyard Street.
no, it must
I
be
can't remember.
SE.
Yeah,
I think it's SW or so. SW1 because Vauxhall just on the edge of central London.
yeah, because I remember I played cricket in the Oval when I was a kid. Jesus Christ, that's bringing me back. I was 9 when I left there. I lived there from 2 to 9. So, but I do get back. I still have family over there. They actually live in Brixton. So if I'm
No,
over,
definitely.
we're meeting
I
up.
like that. Definitely.
And especially if there's an event in London, I'd like to go and do that with you. And then we do our takes, a review, whatever. Obviously,
Of
if you want to
course.
keep this going after tonight, you let me know what you
I'll
think, and
definitely work something
we'll
out.
definitely be
Yeah.
in contact.
Why not? But well, I've been talking for approximately an hour. I think we better wrap things up because it's not fair to keep you up and because you've got I think you said you're off tomorrow, but still, you said you had a long night of drinking with the family.
Ah, look, it's, look. Don't worry, I'll continue drinking. I'll start drinking when we're finished. I say soberish for this. I had one drink to calm the nerves, one strong Irish drink. Um, but don't worry
No,
about keeping me up. I can talk as long as you want.
I'm not sure there's anything else I need to talk. I mean, I've got work tomorrow. That's the reason why. So one one thing that I'll
Okay,
definitely
no,
do
I
is that
understand that.
if we can, and this is actually my fault because I asked us to do it at this time. Definitely, we have to try and do this probably sooner, earlier. I asked you to do it around 1 a.m., which isn't the best time. So yeah, definitely
It's okay.
we should do this again. Um
Yes, no, definitely. Um, I'll give you a text after this, and we'll organize before next weekend so we can do picks, predictions. And I was thinking maybe me and you could go event to event, scoring who gets the most right, who gets the most wrong,
yeah,
who's the
yeah,
winner over a
awesome.
calendar year,
No, I like
etc.
that.
and the loser has to do a forfeit.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, keep saying Ant-Man. Yeah. All right, guys. All right. I gotta say, guys. All right, David. So I'll catch you next Saturday or next Sunday.
Well, I'm not. If I'm gonna be watching the fight, I'm gonna be drinking, so I might not be much use to you then. If I
Or
get you Saturday before the
or
fight,
should we do like?
I'm gonna be finished
It
work
depends
maybe
which
in
day
then.
you're not gonna be working. I mean, I work probably Monday to Friday throughout the whole week, but I finish quite early that I can still get home in time. But I mean, you said that you finish probably closer to like midnight-ish or so, isn't it?
See, it depends. Next week I'm on actually early, so next week I'm starting at 4 a.m., finishing at maybe 12, depending on the day. And then the night before the fights, I'm actually 5 to 12. So then from 12 until the fights, I'll be free all that day on the Saturday. So if you want to do something on Saturday,
Well, we
maybe
could
make
do
picks,
if we're gonna
preview
do
the fights,
preview the fights.
etc.
You could. The thing is, where we do it probably on a day or two before the fight actually happens.
Yes, and then because then rather than it happening,
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
are going to be nearly watching the fight by the time it comes out.
Definitely.
But we can organize something during the week.
All right. Good night, or should I say
Perfect.
good morning?
Ah,
And thank you so
whichever.
much.
It was very nice. Thank you
You
very much for
too.
having me.
Take
You're an
care.
absolute gentleman.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It was his first time doing something like this, as he did mention in the podcast in the video call there. And for me, it's kind of so he was nervous. For me myself, I'm still fairly nervous when talking with someone, even when I'm filming these videos and podcasts like I am now. But as time goes on, I've been getting better, and hopefully he will feel the same as well. I hope you enjoyed it. We covered a few issues there. The Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier fight coming up this weekend in UFC 264. The Jake Paul situation, and how him and his brother Logan Paul have kind of stumbled and just crashed onto the combat sports, the boxing scene by storm. And I'm not a hater, but there's just something about how these two guys just barged their way into the sport. And not to sound like a bitch or broken record, but they just haven't, in my eyes, they haven't really earned their stripes a natural way. I can't put it in any other words. It's just how I feel personally about the whole situation. That's just me. But again, whether they're going to pursue this whole thing long term or not, I don't think it's going to be done long term. I think at some point they're going to either get bored or they'll become frightened. They're going to come across a particular boxer who means business, who is going to knock them out. It could be Tyron Woodley, who his fight with Jake Paul's coming up just towards the end of August. And it says something. If we go back to what he wanted to have in his contract, Jake Paul stated that, demanded that he have a rematch clause in the contract. So whoever wins or loses, whatever the case may be, whatever the outcome may be, there will be a rematch, regardless. So that's kind of arouses suspicions, at least for me, that he knows that there's a good chance that he could lose that fight, and of course it could be embarrassing for him. So, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I would like to make a regular thing because I do like to have conversations about mixed martial arts and combat sports. In general, so for me it's interesting, really interesting. But of course, I still have a lot to learn about the sport overall. So there's not much else I'm going to cover in this particular just at the at this part of the podcast, except in mixed martial arts news, of course, there's the upcoming fight between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor at UFC 264, July 10th. The question is who wins. I know that other people. This is my podcast. That should be my opinion really about my opinion on the matters that I'm covering in mixed martial arts and combat sports. Not to let in. I'll say it bluntly, my own opinion. I believe Dustin Poirier probably will win again. The Conor that fought it back at UFC 178 in 2014. as many people have been saying, it's a very different Conor McGregor to what we are seeing now. Excuse me. So, I mean, several big prominent names in mixed martial arts have been asked about this. Colby Covington, is it Uriah Hall or Henry Cejudo, and Chael Sonnen. They've all said that Dustin Poirier will more or less take the win away from this. That's their prediction. And I think they might be right, because I think one of the reasons that one of those guys gave it, I'm repeating someone else's words on my podcast, but hey, I agree with what they're saying. You know, Conor McGregor has fought so many people. He's earned so much money in this sport. He's made such a big name for himself and his brand in this sport, especially in the UFC. He's known worldwide. He's a household name across the world, especially in the US and in Ireland, where he's from. So, I mean, it's going to be like, well, what else is there to do? What else is there to achieve? That he's made so much money. He's wealthy. He has a plethora. He has numerous sources of income. So, you know, money's not going to be a problem for him. It's not going to be an issue for him or his wife or his children or his wider family. So he's set for life. You know, how much is he worth? I think 110 million or probably even more, 120, 130 million dollars is how much he's worth. So money's not an issue for that guy at all. He has financial freedom, you know. So I've got a feeling that maybe Dustin Poirier will win this fight, because for Dustin Poirier, it's more or less like a business decision. I mean, he was given the opportunity to have a title bout, and he turned that down. And understandably so. The move he made to fight Conor McGregor a third time was more or less a business decision. I mean, he admitted it himself. So that's understandable. You know, he's fighting someone with a big name, so he'll bring the pay-per-views. Even if he loses, he'll still take home a really big purse. So yeah, that's understandable. But you know, I believe that overall, Dustin Poirier will take the win away from this. That's just my prediction. I could be wrong. I mean, for the first fight, UFC 257, not the first, but for the previous fight, which was the second fight, everybody thought that Conor McGregor would win, but that just wasn't the case. You know, it was a shock loss for him and a shock win for Dustin Poirier. You know, and immediately after Conor McGregor, that fight, after Conor McGregor's loss at that fight, you know, just the reaction from the mixed martial arts community, from the combat sporting world in general. Many people were saying, just what is up with this guy? He's not the same guy he was all those years. Go back at UFC 178 in 2014. He really didn't, you know, really wasn't performing at his best in the octagon that night. You know, I was trying to prove that he was a boxer, showing off his boxing skills instead of concentrating on beating his opponent and winning the fight. You know, many people are saying maybe he should retire. Many people are saying, you know, how does he train? You know, his coaching team, who are the people who are supporting this guy, this and that. I was surprised at the reaction, you know, as in people are just because of one loss out of, you know, and he's still only 31, 32 years old, so he's still still fairly young in terms of sporting, in terms of mixed martial arts sports. So, you know, just the reaction from the mixed martial arts community kind of suggested to me that their opinions of him as a fighter have completely changed. Me, some other fighters such as Kamaru Usman recently came out saying he's just an average fighter now. He's not really that golden boy of the UFC anymore. You know, he's really gone down in the ranks, and he's just not what he used to be. So for me personally, I think Dustin Poirier will take the win away from this. I could be wrong. I thought Conor McGregor would win, even though I wanted Dustin Poirier to win at UFC 257, and he did win. My gut was telling me that no, the fight will go the other way for sure. Well, let's wait and see what happens. In other news, I mean, there's not much else happening except for Tyron Woodley's preparing for his fight with Jake Paul, and he seems pretty confident that he's going to win. He has Floyd Mayweather in his corner, training him and helping him prepare for the upcoming fight. And so far, I'll say that I think Tyron Woodley will beat this guy. I think Jake Paul knows that himself. Hence the reason why he demanded to have that a rematch clause included in the contract. Well, because he suspects that he's going to lose that fight. It's going to be a big loss for him. It's going to be quite embarrassing because, so far, in my opinion, Tyron Woodley probably is the closest opponent to a proper elite level boxer that Jake Paul has come across in his fights, in his boxing career so far. So I won't say much else on that. I mean, Tyron Woodley has been known for his knockout power. I think he'll win. So for now, I think Woodley will have the upper hand. But let's wait and see what happens. There's still some time between now. We just entered July and the end of August, so there's still a lot of time in between to see if anything changes or anything drastic happens or anything like that. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, kind of other podcasts that I did with my new co-host, Dave Farrell. Check out his Instagram. I think it is Dave Farrell 86 on Instagram. I have to check that out, and I'll leave the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Check out his content. It's not bad. You can catch my Instagram on Ike Jarko 1. You can catch me on Twitter and on Facebook. My name is Ike Jarko. So once again, guys, thank you very much.